So we are at the end of this year setting down the mentorship.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Goodbye, the space between.
Yes,
We are setting down the retreats as well.
we are.
All
Wow.
of our, all of the things.
Oh, wow. I can't believe we just said that out loud.
I know. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the KarWell Chronicles. This one's just a week with Em and I, and we are going to be talking about something that I'm so excited to talk about. I feel like it's such a shift in our business, such a different era for us. Nobody's surprised. We're pivoting yet again.
Yet again. I think it's so funny because we literally made this decision, last Wednesday? And you're already like, let's tell everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, the decision's made. We're rolling it out.
Yeah, can't keep it a secret.
Yeah. So should we start with this, or do we want to start with a tiny home update before we spill the tea on our...
The tiny home update's not long, so we can...
Let's do it.
We can do the tiny home update.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have been bugging the shit out of the planning commission chairman.
Okay.
And it's funny because my dad knows him because
Okay.
he works for the Veterans Affairs office, and my dad's a vet, so he sees him pretty frequently. Literally, he tells me, he's like, I saw him today. And I was like,
Wait, who is it?
his name is Charlie McKinley.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have been bugging him, and he calls me a while ago, and he was like, me and the zoning administrator are trying to figure out how to approach your situation. I'll get back to you. And he didn't. So I was like, hello, Charlie.
Hi, it's me again.
I actually say, hello, Mr. McKinley. It's Emily Carnes. I'm so sorry to bug you. Just
little old me.
little old me calling you, bugging you again. And he goes, oh my gosh, I have it on my list to call you. I got really busy with my other job. But he's like, I literally am at work right now, and I saw your number come up, and I answered, because I knew that I needed to talk to you. So it turns out that back in 2022, they did implement a permitting... This is not the exact terminology he used, but some sort of process where you get to go and apply to put a tiny home on your property, because he was like, we see the huge benefit. Either the kids can live in it, the parents can live in the main house, and you end up taking care of them, or vice versa. We see a huge benefit.
Okay. Pro compound.
Yes, pro compound in Ashland Township.
Amazing.
So they had gone through the process. They did a public hearing.
Okay.
They wrote down all the minutes. So apparently... And he's a little unsure of if this is actually how the process went, but based off of what's happened, he thinks what happened is, so they had written down some terminology based off of what they wanted or thought that they wanted, sent it to the township attorney, and then they had the public hearing where they made official decisions. And apparently in between the public hearing and when the zoning administration had to implement everything, the minutes of that public hearing never got to the attorney to update what they had originally sent him. So they had approved everything, and then the zoning administration was going to go and add whatever they wanted, take away whatever they wanted, whatever like that. But they never got it, and they didn't do it. So he's like, this should have happened 3 years ago, and now we're restarting this process because you've brought this to me.
Oh,
and he was
my
like,
God.
so unfortunately, he's like, there's no point in you coming in front of the planning commission because it's not up to us at this point.
Yeah.
He was like, and if you go and apply with the zoning administration right now, or the zoning board administration, I don't know, it's like ZBA or something like that. He was like, if you go in front of them right now, you would likely get denied. There's no way that they're going to approve you, and then you can't reapply or something. And so he was like, we're going to redo all of this stuff. We're going to have another public hearing. And he's like, to be honest with you, not a single person showed up to that public hearing. And I was like, okay.
Perfect.
I was like, is it going to be beneficial if I do? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
I'll be there.
Let me know the date,
Yeah.
and I will show up to the public hearing. And he's like, okay. And then we'll have to submit it to them, and then you can go and apply for the permit to do the public hearing. So it's just getting drug out longer and longer, but it sounds like the majority of people are pro it. They understand the benefit of it. They like the concept. So back to waiting.
Back
for
to waiting.
The township and a public hearing and
Oh my God, that's
fun
so
stuff like that.
It's so funny because it's that is so classic small
He
town
was
politics.
like, it's been 3 years. He's like, I don't know how we didn't notice that this didn't happen in 3 years. He was like, but we thought it was taken care of.
Yeah.
And so when I brought my thing to them, Mr. Bouchard, who's the zoning administrator, he was like, I'm looking for this thing that we talked about 3 years ago, and I can't find it anywhere. And so none of it is documented.
Yeah. Meeting notes just happen to disappear.
How?
How?
I know there was in Grant Township right now. There, this business that's buying up. We've been talking about this business that's been buying up a bunch of stuff. Is trying to turn an old farm into like a dump location where like the dumpsters
Okay.
take all the dump stuff.
Transfer station?
Yes.
Okay.
And the locals apparently are not very happy about it.
Oh my god.
Just the smell. I don't know. I think there's people that are pro it, but there's people that are against it. And I also have heard rumblings that people aren't happy about this company like buying up everything in town,
Okay.
even though they're locals that have like built this huge business.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Say thank you.
Yeah. So they're like talking about after the meeting, like people who didn't show up, they're like, when are the minutes gonna come out? And I'm like, 5 months from now. Like the way these small towns work, like you guys are going to be waiting 5 months to see those freaking minutes.
Yes.
There's no way that they're coming out because, I mean, Ashland Township, based on what I can tell, the planning commission only meets like every 3 months.
Yeah, because isn't Ashland Township the one where it's like the township hall is open like Saturdays, every other Saturday from like 11 to 11:30?
Yeah, and like the zoning administrator works Fridays from 8 to noon.
Yeah.
And like, mind you, they all have careers outside
Yeah,
of
this
these
is a
positions.
voluntary
It's like
position.
voluntary, so I get the limited hours, but like, and Ashland Township is way bigger than Grant Township from what I can tell.
Really?
Like, it's huge.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but it's huge. Ashland Township is based on like the area, but I'm maybe per capita it's not.
Yeah, it's like 12 houses
Yeah.
versus, yeah, okay.
Like overall area. Maybe that's how it is. I shouldn't speak ahead of myself thinking of where we're living. But yeah, so that, I don't know, it's just like hard working with these small townships, but it's also really nice because now like the guy has my personal phone number.
Yeah.
He's had me email him. He's like going to reach out to me directly. He knows my dad. Like there are so many benefits to the small town stuff, but also I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta wait.
Well, and I mean, honestly, it's like I've been talking a little bit to Chad Federley, who's like on the, I don't know, White Cloud Township or some township up in White Cloud about this exact issue. Because I guess he's like serves on the board somewhere, some way, and they're trying to develop something for tiny homes because it's like tiny homes right now are illegal, but per the economy and the amount of debt that our generation is in and yada yada, it's like a great solution for people to be able to like have a home on the land that their parents have a home. And yeah, you leading that up, I mean, it's a conversation that's going to start happening more frequently, but it's insane to me that like they saw it as something that they wanted to cover 3 years ago and then they covered it and then thought it was done and then not a single person was interested in that in the 3 years, you know,
Well,
like
the
you're
fact
the
that
only
not
one.
a single person showed up to the public hearing, I'm like, how are they getting this information out
Yeah.
to the public?
Yeah.
You know, like,
And
how
why are
would
they focused on it if nobody's asking for that?
Yeah.
Whatever.
But yeah. White Cloud is trying to make some changes. They're hosting the Gus Macker this year.
They are not.
They are.
Where?
I have no idea. Something maybe over by the high school or something like that. I mean, Newego hosted it the past 2 years. And then White Cloud is. Nick said that Nick is my brother for the listeners here. I'm just having a conversation with Sarah, apparently.
I have contacts none of you listeners do.
Nick is my brother. He plays in the Gus Macker. He said that they're trying to jump around to all of the local towns. Basically, they're like trying to share the business that gets developed by hosting the Gus Macker, and White Cloud's taking it on this year. I told Fede because he's got 3 properties up there now that he manages, and I was like, jack them prices up, Fede. They're all already booked, but
whoops.
I know. I told him that like the day I found out, I messaged him because we had a meeting, and I was like, he was like, yeah, I got 3 properties in White Cloud now, and I was like, jack up your prices. He was like, they're all already booked, and he was like, 2 of them booked for really well. So
Well, could have booked for better.
could have booked for better.
Yeah, speaking of that, like being like having nuanced situations that jack up your prices. After the Derby happened, I was like, oh my god, we need to go to the Derby, you know, the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I would love to attend that. And so like the week that it was happening, I was like, okay, I'm gonna book a B&B for like next year to go. For the 3 days that we would go, like let's say I think I was looking at like Thursday through Sunday, there was nothing that was less than $7,000 for those 3 to 4 days for a 1-1.
Well, I was watching the BFFs podcast because Dave Portnoy is into like, he owns like a portion of horses and stuff. So he's really into horse racing. And he said that basically horse racing is just like a sport for rich people and they put way more money into it than they will ever make from it.
Yes.
And
as a former
so
horse girl, can validate
yeah,
that.
they said like the person who won, even their horse alone probably costs like significantly more than what they won, and like the upkeep over the year. And
Mhm.
people own like 2.5% of these horses.
Yep. Yeah.
Crazy. Did you
Yeah.
hear? We're going down a tangent now of not anything, but every horse that was participating this year was related to Secretariat, like the original. That was like a thing that went out. I didn't fact check that, but isn't that
Whoa.
wild? Like breeding is like a real
thing.
thing.
Whoa. Genetics.
Hmm.
Dude, horses.
Horse people, fact check me on that. If that's not true, please tell me. But that's what I saw.
That's our truth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna believe that at face value, just like I did the eagle beak smashing off situation.
Same. Somebody told me coffee was good for you, like Jen did, and I was like, face value, coffee's good for me.
Yeah, I'm internalizing that forever. Dude, yeah, that's wild. If I ever have kids one day and I have a daughter that wants to be a horse girl, it's an immediate no for me. Immediate no.
I'll tell her that she can.
I know I'm gonna
I'll
have
tell her
all
to
the aunties that are like,
yeah.
oh yeah, your mom had them.
Yeah, your mom had a horse. She should let you have a horse.
Absolutely not. There's so much work. They're so expensive and just literally not worth it.
Well, then she can be out there scooping the stalls just like you did.
I know. Oh my god, trauma. I'm already triggered having this conversation.
I wanted to be a horse girl so bad.
Yeah,
We were
everyone
poor.
wanted to be a horse girl except for me, who is the horse girl. I'm like, I just want to be in the art room. Like, give me colored pencils. I don't want to deal with this animal. They could sense my energy too, because all the horses that I would like, my horse included, would just not listen to me at all. I was not alpha enough for my horse.
I loved riding your horse.
Well, that makes one of us. No, thank you. Okay, so let's shift into our shift in business.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of context on how this all came about, because I feel like, I mean, really, for the last 5 years, we've been like, what are we doing? Where are we going? Who are we? What do we like? What do we don't like?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in us being best friends, I know that, a lot of people are like, how do you stay on the same page? And forever, we have always said, like, we will literally collapse our business before we'll like let it impact our friendship. And with that being said, it's like whenever I have a thought or an idea or anything, I can't hold it in my body longer than like 45 seconds without bringing it up to you.
Genuinely.
Like,
And then one of us starts to spiral. You're like, we gotta have dinner. I'm like, okay, what are we talking about?
yeah, dinner for us is not funsies. It's like a serious conversation. But I'll share, like, I guess my side of what led me to this decision, and then your side, and we're having like, these epiphanies at the same time, but separately for totally different reasons. So, at the beginning of this year, my husband decided to sell his insurance book of business, his agency, and step away from the thing that has been predominantly what we have lived on for the last decade.
Mhm.
And I'm super excited for him, super happy for him. I think it's absolutely the right decision. But with the decision of deciding to sell that, it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do next? Or like, where are we going to pivot? What are we going to do? Now we've just let go of all of our income. Beautiful thing is that because it's a book of business that we can sell, obviously we get some money as opposed to like leaving a 9 to 5 and just having nothing. So that's a step
Mhm.
up. It was our first time exiting anything, which was fun. But with that, it just started a gazillion and a half conversations in between the two of us of being like, okay, we're saying no to this thing that has brought us a ton of income and stability for the last decade. It's the right decision to let it go, but we don't have any clarity around what the next step is. And so literally from January of this year until now, we have talked ourselves in circles almost every single night about
Mhm.
like, what are we doing? Where are we going? How are we going to pivot this? And I personally, as you know all too well, am overcommitted in every area of my life,
Yeah.
which I love and I hate at the same time. Um, but really, I think the big shift happened in my brain to make a big move in Carwell's or in really all of my commitments across the board is that Ethan finally started pressing me on like, what do you want? Like, where do you want to go? Because Ethan and I have this dynamic where neither of us wants to tell the other one what to do, where to go, how to pursue their career, what direction to take next, because the decisions that I make and that he makes are always high risk, high reward. And so I never want the things that Ethan chooses to do to like not be what he wants, like to not align with his goals and dreams and ambitions. and neither of us take being told what to do well at all.
Nope.
Neither of us in any capacity. So I think we were just like playing this game for the last 5 months of like, well, what do you want? Well, what do you want? Like just tiptoeing around each other, being like, I don't want to push you in a direction. I don't want to push you in a direction. Like,
Mhm.
is there alignment here? Is there not? It has to happen organically for both of us to be excited about it. Like, just really leaving some space for maybe some clarity to take place by removing some things off of his plate. And probably 3 weeks ago, we had a long car ride back from one of the properties, and he was like, look, I'm going to ask you something, and I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't want you to feel like, I'm going to be disappointed if we're not aligned here. Like, it's your choice. You go in the direction that you want to go. He was like, but if you and I are going to get serious about having kids or entertaining the idea of having kids, he's like, you right now, your biggest resistance to having kids is that there's no real way for you to think about being a mom and carrying all the roles that you're carrying today. He was like, and I would love to be able to like take this next era and have it be you and I. And like both of us drop everything and both of us go all in on something new. And he's like, and I don't know what that looks like. He's like, I just know that I love building a business alongside you. And we've always helped each other build each other's businesses, but have never built one together, have never had the space where we're each other's priority. Like we have just been like pouring from empty cups, trying to like carry each other in whatever the thing that, each one of us is doing individually. And I think that conversation for me, like the second he said it and like really formally asked, like, I want to do something with you, I was like, are you flirting with me? like, like
Oh.
everything inside of me was just like, I want that so bad, like
Mhm.
I just didn't like it just wasn't top of mind. I just had like this mentality that like whatever Ethan was going to do next was just going to be his thing, and I
Mhm.
was going to like support him in that. And so for him to come and just be like, look, I want to build something together, but that's going to require you to step out of a lot of things that you're doing. Like it was a simultaneous, like, oh no,
Mhm.
like I'm terrified to disappoint people that matter a lot to me, and commitments that matter a lot to me. But also, like, I've just got this, like, my heart is in this with him. And so immediately, literally the next day, I'm like, "Hi, Emily. I'm having some thoughts, and I'm anxious, and I just want to tell you that I'm having these thoughts, and let's have dinner. Like, let's schedule it. And I just want to see like where you're at, what you're thinking." Because ultimately, Ethan was like, do you want to carry the mentorship? Do you want to continue doing retreats? Do you want to continue like showing up in the same capacity that you're showing up online for other people in the Airbnb space? And ultimately, I'm like, yes, I love all of those things. But like, if you were to like give me a bunch of options on the table of things that I want to participate in, and one of them is taking the 3 potential years that I've left with just Ethan and I to go build something, like, how can I say no to that? Like, I
Mhm.
just want that so bad. Like, I just want that era so bad. And so my heart was just going in that direction. And so then I contacted you and I'm like, okay, I'm having all these thoughts. I need to know where you're at. I need to know what you're thinking, which obviously led us to dinner the other night where I was like, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, luckily, and this I feel like this always happens where we like both start to have feelings about things and then we don't tell each other and then when we say that we're going to have dinner, we're both spiraling and we're like, "Oh my gosh.
I'm like, is she going to be mad?
Yeah,
Is
is
she
this
going to hate me?
conversation going to go well?" Because again, like our friendship is a priority and if we start to prioritize other things, it does like take time away from each other.
Yeah.
And so we have to like it's a little different. Like it's not a breakup, but like it is hard
Yeah.
to like be honest and be like, "Hey, maybe I want to pull back a little bit because it does affect the other person."
Yeah.
So we started panicking. Um but we came
Naturally.
to dinner and I have a hard time being honest because I like want to be able to carry all the load of everything all the time.
Hmm.
And I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that you had said to me that I was like, okay, I need to like really start thinking about what I want to do is you said, I want to spend an era building a business with Ethan. And I was like, that means she's pulling way back.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, that also means like I'm thinking of what's currently on my plate, you
Hmm.
pulling back what more is added to my plate. And then I just started panicking, and I was like, okay, I think I want to pull back a little bit too, because I have all of these goals. Like I really, really want to dive into the concept of a coffee shop. I've been talking about that for years, and I keep pushing it down. I'm like, no. It's like people say it's not a moneymaker. Let me push it down. People say it's not this. Like that's not the priority right now, and it always goes on the back burner.
Yeah.
And Tyler and I have just been talking about it for so long. And now that he has a new job, it does give me a little bit more flexibility to like, one, like income. I'm like, okay, I can like breathe a little bit. I don't have to push so hard here. I can go and pursue this new thing that I've always been wanting to do that Tyler also is really interested in. And I don't have to feel so much pressure around like making sure that I have that income. Not that like, I don't know, not that we were like strapped by any means, but it's just like I'm so used to being this provider for our relationship. And so I was like, okay, that like makes me feel a little bit better. And then again, that like feeling of needing to be a provider, like financially for our relationship and always be working, I never thought that would go away.
Mm-hmm.
But becoming a mom, it has kind of gone away. And I'm like, I really hit this wall in the past 5 months, especially because I think you have like pursued other things that have kind of taken you in a different direction. And so a few more things have been added to my plate. And I've been like, okay, if it's going to take me away from Oz, I have to be like making money on it. And traditionally, the tasks that I have are like day-to-day tasks that aren't necessarily money-making tasks, but they're things that have to get done versus like we always talk about like visionary integrator. Like the integrator tasks aren't necessarily money-making tasks if we think of them like in a tangible aspect. But if they're not done, then the business isn't running, right? And so I was like, okay, these things are going to be added to my plate. I need to decide if like I'm okay with that or if I really need to like start drawing a hard line, which is hard for me to do with you.
Yeah, of course.
Very hard. I don't ever like want you or anybody, but like you specifically, to feel like I'm dropping the ball. And so I just came into it basically saying all of that. Like I just unloaded all of that at dinner and you were like, well, I'm on the same page. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because like, I don't know, I love so much about what we're doing. But again, like I never thought I would want to pull back and like not necessarily be a stay-at-home mom, but be able to like really be at whatever pace I want to be.
Yeah.
At
You're having to match my pace or Yeah.
And I never want you to feel like I'm holding you back, but I also don't want to feel like you're dragging me behind you, because then that like makes me resent you because I'm like trying to keep up and you're just constantly moving forward. It makes you resent me because I'm not keeping up at the pace that you want to. And so I just think like it's unhealthy for us to have such different goals now. Like we had such similar goals for so long and they are different now. I think they overlap, but they are different now. And so I just think that the approach that we need to take to still doing business together has to be different, because I don't want that to go away. And I think we like decided that we don't want that to go away completely, but it just, our goals are looking different for the time being.
Yeah.
And I think you'll eventually come to hit my stage too. Like if you do decide to have kids, like you're going to be like, oh, I understand that a little bit more now, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I have had so many conversations with Ethan about how frustrating it is to not really be able to understand new momhood, you know? Because like I can see that it's super difficult. I can see that it's exhausting, but like I have no idea what it feels like to be that sleep deprived, that overstimulated, that constantly needed, you know? And there's just like no way unless you've gone through it to like really be able to empathize with it. So I can like acknowledge it, but not like really truly be able to understand or like know how to help or like understand the pace that we need to slow down to or anything like that.
Taylor and I literally had that conversation yesterday, not about you, about me and my approach to Dale for her second pregnancy versus her first one, because I was a mom when she became pregnant the second time. And I was like, there's no way to know. Yeah. It's impossible to understand all of the things that come with being a mom outside of like physically it's exhausting, but mentally, like my mind is never 100% on work. Like there was a Call Her Daddy podcast with Ellen Pompeo, and she was like, as a mom, you can go into work and you can give 100% of what that is, but you can never be 100% on with anything because you're always thinking about your child. Like,
Yeah,
what
your
time of day is it? Are
100%
they
is
having lunch?
80.
Are they having snack? Did they take a nap today? Like,
Yeah. Are they safe?
yeah, you're constantly thinking about that. And that makes it sound like it's a bad thing. It's really not.
Mm-hmm.
And you become used to it. And there is a way to get into a routine. And there's obviously challenges to all types of motherhood, but being a work from home mom also has these huge challenges because you're trying to be just as productive as you were before, and you can't be because there's this person who needs you all the time.
And a solo mom for half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think that anybody would be able to like understand what the pace needs to be. And I think that I've been for the past year and a half trying to like tell myself that I can still operate and I can still take everything on and it's fine. And I'll just take the meetings. Like, I'm not going to say no to a meeting because I want to be involved in everything. And like, I just think I've hit the realization that I don't want to have to do that anymore. And I don't need to have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I feel too like we were doing 18 different things half-assed,
I agree.
you know? And
There's
so
things
then
I want to be focusing on, but I just don't have time for.
yes, and the things that we want to do the most are getting put on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're doing these things, like we're doing the mentorship, for example, because it's already built out. You know, we've got some of the systems in place. And I think we went into the beginning of this year being like, okay, we're just going to outsource as much as we possibly can to like remove the load that the mentorship in particular takes. And we're going to, you know, work with AutoCamp on these retreats and they have a planner. So it's going to like take a lot of the, you know, in theory, take a lot of the work off of you who plans the entire back end of these retreats. And like even going through that process, it's like what I didn't consider because we've never gone through the process of building something out and really outsourcing it outside of our B&Bs, which we have Fede, which he requires little to no attention. He is a unicorn in the outsourcing arena.
Yes.
That everything that we outsource still needed attention.
Yeah, literally the amount of messages that we're getting and the questions we're getting. And maybe that's like a delegation issue or we'll learn over time how to do that. But it's at the stage that we're both at, I just don't know that we have it in us to
Yeah.
take the time to do all of that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the mentorship too, we just love the people that are in it so much. Like we've grown so attached to them, but we've also seen them kind of like outgrow us
Yeah.
to a certain extent, which is really cool.
That's exactly what the purpose is.
Yeah.
But now I'm like jealous of the fact that I don't have the time to go grow at the same pace that they're growing because they're not running a mentorship / retreat business that takes so much time. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I want to move at their pace and have the attention that they can give their businesses that they're growing that we helped them get to, which is amazing. But now they're surpassing us. And then they're being like, okay, like, how are you going to help me continue growing? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm stuck not being able to grow anything because we're just like holding on to 18 different, you know, irons in the fire and
Yeah.
not really being like kick ass at any of them.
And they're all very specifically short-term rental related. And both of us are interested in things outside of short-term rentals at this point. So,
yes. So we are at the end of this year setting down the mentorship.
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Goodbye, the space between.
Yes,
We are setting down the retreats as well.
we are.
All
Wow.
of our, all of the things.
Oh, wow. I can't believe we just said that out loud.
I know, because we went into this year being like, we're gonna streamline it and we're gonna run
the
it
retreats
forever.
are going to be forever. And yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Haircut.
I don't even know where to go from there.
I know. So, I will say this, if you are listening and you've been considering joining our mentorship, we are going to ride it out through the end of the year. We have committed to end of December for most of our mentees. If you're listening to this and we haven't had a conversation and you're like through April or something, I think there's like 2 of you that we have to have a conversation with on how we're going to handle that. But we are going to do one more 6-month push to make sure that everyone who wants to learn from us, who wants to, you know, be a part of this beautiful, successful program that we've built out, that we've, you know, helped so many people leave their 9-to-5s and build this B&B business in a solid, successful way. This is the last time that you can do it for the last 6 months of the year, starting July 1st. So we will have the retreat in October that we have already committed to as well, that, you know, is already well on its way. So you'll have one more opportunity to join us on one of these Camp with the KarWell retreats. But we want to go build businesses. Like, I want to just get my hands dirty in something new.
Yes. I'm so excited about it. I literally was on the phone with Tyler and I was like, I can't wait to just start going to coffee shops and figuring out what espresso machines they have and
Yeah.
figuring out how they do their pricing. And I'm like watching YouTube tutorials on people that are building their coffee shops right now. Like, I'm already so excited about it.
Yeah. This is like such a tangent that you and I haven't talked about at all
Oh
around coffee
no.
shops specifically, but I'm about halfway through Cody Sanchez's Main Street Millionaire book.
Okay.
And like that's obviously the direction that Ethan and I want to go is like buying a business as opposed to building it because now we have built several businesses and like we understand that first like big push takes 3 to 5 years to really get something off the ground and understand driving traffic and marketing and sales and operations and SOPs and all the things that it takes to like build the thing. Um, would you ever buy a coffee shop? Like would like
Like
if
an existing one?
like River Stop?
Maybe, but I would like completely rebrand it.
Yeah.
That's like my love for coffee shops is that I get to be creative
Mhm.
and deciding exactly what I want it to be.
Mhm.
Like I've talked to you about how I want the mugs to be and I want them to be hand painted and I want to offer this and I want to be able to bring fresh flowers every morning for people to make bouquets. Like there's so much to the creative aspect that I want.
Yeah.
That maybe, but I feel like I would buy it and then shut it down and renovate the whole place. And so like why not just go and buy the thing? And like I'm trying to be intentional about like the first example, there's a commercial space for sale in Grant right now.
Yeah.
That's downstairs. The size is perfect for a coffee shop. You can add like the coffee section plus a bunch of booths. The basement can be completely renovated as well. But the upstairs is a 2-bedroom apartment that can be
Yes.
renovated and rented out. And so like I'm trying to be intentional about kind of stacking those things because
Yep.
I do understand everybody says that coffee shops make no money and there's no point in coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's probably not the case, especially these days. Like I feel like the coffee shop thing is definitely on the rise, but
Mhm.
I just feel like I need to be intentional about that. And I just don't know if I have that opportunity in every coffee shop that I would look at buying. But again, I would shut it down and renovate the whole thing. Not
Well,
that Riverstop is like ugly by any means. It's just not the vibe that I want.
yeah, you would want to bring it into the center.
And they have like kind of a full kitchen. I don't know that I want to do that with my coffee shop. I want like pastries, but I don't know that I want to be like a restaurant.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think your concept around if you were opening up a coffee shop in Grant, it's like so adjacent to our philosophy around how we've handled our B&Bs, where it's like you're entering a market with no competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a single coffee shop in Grant, you know?
Yeah.
There's really not a good coffee shop other than River Stop in Newaygo County.
Mm-hmm. There's that other one in Newaygo, but I can't remember the name of it. Timberwolf?
Yeah, something. But it's like in a retail space, isn't it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's hard to find. Yeah, and I like go off on I never thought that I would want to build anything in Grant, but then Tyler and I were like, oh my gosh, we could build the micro resort
Yeah.
and then send everybody to our coffee shop in town and
Yeah.
like continue building businesses in a town where I already know so many people.
Yeah.
They're much more welcoming to business owners that are locals.
Yeah.
And I could become the Chip and Joanna of Grant,
Yes.
Michigan.
Yes. 1000%. 1000%. And everything is within reach. You know, you're
Yeah.
not like handling operations from a million miles away like we are with these B&Bs. So, yeah.
That's like my dream.
I know. Yeah. It's one of those things where I think that like our B&B era was really about getting us out of the 9 to 5, you know, getting us more equipped to be better business owners. Running B&Bs is a complicated operation.
Oh my gosh, the skills that I've learned.
Yeah. And so it's like it's taught us so much, but yeah, I think that there was so much of both of us hanging on to this B&B era for maybe longer than we even should have, just out of fear of disappointing one another, out of desire to stay aligned in the things that we're doing, out of respect for what we've built for the last 5 years.
I
Like,
didn't want to disappoint anybody who also follows us.
yeah, anyone
And
who's learned
who's a
from
part
us.
of the mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like not that anybody has given me that pressure. Like nobody's
Right.
like saying anything that's making me feel like that, but I feel it, right? Like
Of
I'm like,
course.
oh, there's this weight of I want to do a good job for the people that have like become a part of our community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's what really like jumped out at me when Ethan kind of made that proposal in the car is he was like, stop thinking about me, stop thinking about Emily, stop thinking about your mentees, stop thinking about your partners on these deals, stop thinking about your followers on social media. Like literally, if you were to like axe all of that and all of that disappeared tomorrow, would you go rebuild it because you love it so much? Or would you go in a totally different direction? And I was like, oh, totally different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not even like no questions asked. Like I would go do it all over differently. You know, I would go build something different with the skill set that we've built. And so I think in that moment I was like, whoa, how often am I choosing other people over what I really want? And then in turn, by like choosing other people, how is it adjacently making people that I care about suffer?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I'm thinking I'm doing you a favor by hanging on to it. And the reality is that I'm like causing you more pain than like pleasure. And so it's like to think that like, you know, both of us were like, oh my God, I want to let this go. I want to like enter into a different era, but like I do not want to disappoint my best friend, or I do not want to disappoint these people. I'm like proud of us.
I know, me too. I'm scared for this episode to come out.
Terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, my palms are sweating.
I'm sweating really bad.
But I'm so excited. I think that it's one of those things that whenever you make a big decision like this, and I think that both of us are so certain that it's the right decision, which is why it's so scary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just excited to like record a podcast a year from now and be like, how do we feel?
Yeah.
You know, like what are we doing? Where are we going? Was it the right choice? Like
I do feel like the podcast is going to get even better because we're going to be doing different things. So our conversations gets to be that much better.
Yes. By the way, we're keeping the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is still going. Honestly, we might even up the episodes.
Yes.
Because we'll have more time.
Yeah. Well, and that was something that like when Ethan was having this conversation with me and he was like, you know, if you had everything taken away from you, like would you go rebuild it the same way and like step into the same thing or go do something else? The podcast was the one thing that I was like, it's cup filling.
Yeah.
Like
every person in my household was like, okay, what do you want? They were like, stop thinking about what Sarah wants or Sarah needs or Sarah's feelings. And I was like, that's really hard.
How dare you suggest that?
I know. Can't do that. Never. But they were like, if you like could leave completely, would you leave completely? And I was like, I would want the podcast to keep going.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing that we do.
Yeah, me too. It's so fun.
Yeah.
We digress on things that are completely unrelated to the topic we want to talk about.
Completely unrelated. I know. When we relaunched, I was like, this is a short-term rental podcast. And then every time we leave, I'm like, we didn't talk about short-term rentals at all.
Yeah. 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 So I'm excited for it to like, you know, I think both of us, the area that we are absolutely aligned on and have stayed aligned on no matter what is our love for building a personal brand, showing up on social media, like documenting the process, good, bad, and ugly. And so I just think it'll leave us way more room to do that without being so niche down in the short-term rental space. Like we have created such a niche brand, and I'm so ready to like really pivot that because we talked last year when it was warm. I don't know when we had the meeting in the last hard conversation that we had at Nodo's here in Grand Haven. It was still warm out, so it had to be August, September, I don't know, of last year where we were like, we're going to focus on our personal brands. We're going to outsource the KarWell stuff, yada, yada. And still our personal brands are being put on the back burner. We're not truly doing the thing that like lights either of us up. And so it just, we can't carry both. And I think that that's just one of those things that's taken us several months to like come to the realization that like it's going to require us to say no to things that we don't hate. You know, that we love, but don't love as much as some of the other things that we really want to pursue.
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
But I think that there was also a very real possibility that, I mean, I had this conversation with you last week, of course, about this, but I have had to have other really hard conversations about disappointing people in this transition as well, outside of you. And I think that like the thoughts in my brain before the conversation happens.
So much worse.
They're brutal.
So bad. Dale talked to both of us.
Thank God. Love
and
Dale.
She was like, you guys are on the same page. Can you just relax?
Her eyes have got to be literally in the back of her head the entire time dealing with us.
I talked to her maybe yesterday and I was like, did Sarah tell you how our conversation went? And like, we were on the same page and she goes, no shit. I was like, Okay. Sorry.
Rude.
I forgot you told me that. My bad.
Yeah.
Things are good. We're still friends. Got
Yeah.
it.
I love how our gossiping and our little trio friend group goes. Like Dale's like, I'm not going to tell you what she actually said, but I do want to make you feel better in the fact that she's aligned. I was like, thank you. I'll sleep tonight.
Literally. I was at her house and she was like, your dinner is going to be fine. You guys are on the same page, I think. And I was like, how do you know that, Dale? She's like, I'm not telling you that.
Because I can't keep my mouth shut if I'm carrying anything around our friendship at all.
I can always tell when you've told her because she'll come to me and she'll be like, so how are you doing? And I'm like, Sarah's big mouth.
Like, I think I might hurt Emily's feelings and I need you to be prepared when I come to you crying. But there was a very real possibility, let's say, that you didn't feel that way. Yeah, that I'm like, I'm having these conversations with Ethan before I knew that you wanted to step away from this as well and that we were aligned on it, where I'm like, oh my God, I might just like gut Emily. Like there's,
I was terrified.
yeah, I'm just like, there's a very real possibility that I'm going to severely disappoint her. And yet, like, is it right to make a different decision? Is it wrong to make a different decision? Like, how do I navigate this thought of like, my heart's in one place, but like, I want two hearts, you know, like I want two
Well, I also
Sarahs.
feel like both of us, if we both decided, like, what if I came to the conversation thinking that you wanted to keep going? And so I was like, gung ho, let's keep going. And then you were like, okay, well, she is, so let me keep going. It would have been such a disservice to both of us.
Yeah.
Because we would have both been half-ass.
Yeah.
Or I would have like kept trying to take on more and more and more. And then I would have been mad at you.
Yeah. There's no, well, and that's ultimately where I was like, disappointing Emily is the better choice than trying to maintain this if she wants to keep going, because there's 0% chance that we both weren't going to have some form of resentment of like me pulling back and wanting to go in a different direction and then like feeling like I was hanging on to it as a favor as opposed to as a, you know, desire of my own heart. And then you carrying more thinking it's a favor to me because I want to go in a different direction. And like there was no healthy ending in that solution. So I was just like, I'm going to have to take the risk of disappointing Emily and we're just going to have the conversation.
And you made me say it first.
Yeah, I was like, hi, how do you feel? I'm too chicken shit to say it out loud first.
Fine, I'll do it. I was ready. I was prepared. I was like, God. I feel this way.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that that's why we work. You know, like so many people, I feel like that's the most common question we get is like, how do you make a partnership with your friend work? Like 70% of partnerships in business fail. And we have watched that reign true time and time again with our mentees and with situations that we've been adjacent to and situations that we've been in with other people. And like, they've all failed, literally 100%, other than me and you.
Yep.
So I just think that those hard conversations have to happen. Like bottling them up is just a recipe for disaster.
They're so much easier than you think they're going to be too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an hour.
Yeah.
I was on a podcast with Katie today, the lawyer, and she was talking about, you know, like my opinion on the orange Cadillac situation and just like the work that it took to get it across the finish line. And I was like, the mental load of carrying whatever it is that you're carrying is so much worse than actually doing the thing. I was like, for example, like when I was going around to all of these businesses and like had to spend a day like walking into every business, handing them letters, shaking their hand, introducing who we were, telling our story, why we needed their support, yada yada. Like the anxiety leading up to that day was so much heavier than the 8 hours of work that it took to actually like do the thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why like when Ethan and I had this conversation, I'm like, I'm calling Emily immediately because like this is going to take it out of me for the next 2 weeks if I try and carry it. And I was like, no, I'll wait until after the retreat because I don't want to like rain on her parade until the retreat. And I was like, screw that. Can't do it.
No.
Can't harbor it for even 2 weeks.
That's okay. I was already spiraling and wasn't bringing up having a conversation. So, because I was going to wait till after the retreat because I have too much on my plate, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels so much better already.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this next era for us. And it's going to be stupid ironic if like we look back on this in a year and like the KarWell podcast is bigger than it ever was just as a short-term rental podcast or like
because we put more into it.
Yeah, because we like it.
Yeah.
And we're not exhausted by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, so if you're listening to this, KarWell's 2.0 is on the way, or maybe 5.0.
Yeah, we're definitely like 5.0. There's no way this is 2.0.
Yeah. I guess one other question I have for you is outside of the coffee shop, when you're thinking about like where you want to be spending your time in this new chapter, when you have a lot of the time back that you've been dedicating to retreats and mentorship and things like that, is there anything else that you're like, I can't wait to get elbows deep in besides the coffee shop idea?
I mean, I feel like it's like an extension of the coffee shop, but I want to build out the retail brand.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to do like random products that I'm just interested in.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to have to be like, I made this so that it functions in a short term rental.
Yeah.
And I like that. I love the first product that we did, and I love that it functions in a short term rental. And I think that that's like a really good first launch.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be able to just like pick a product and be like, I love this.
Yeah.
So let me create the thing
Yeah.
even better,
Yeah.
the exact way that I would want it for other people. But I think that like is an extension of what I want like the coffee shop to be. Like I truly want like a brand like Magnolia.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Chip and Joanna Gaines of a small town.
I would love it.
Yeah. I want you to read Main Street Millionaire because it's just such a chant, I guess, or like a call to action for people who want to invest in their communities on a very local level.
Yeah.
And just like not have it be big businesses that are buying up literally everything.
Yeah. Well, I need a book to read where for 75 hard I got to read 10 pages a day. So,
Yes. Yeah, read that book. I was in the plane and like Ethan's been reading this book and so in the plane like the Wi-Fi wasn't working, so I couldn't work. And so I was just like reading the book with him and he was like on the last 30 pages. And so I read the last 30 pages and then now I'm like going back from the beginning. But even in the last 30 pages, I'm like on the plane and Ethan's like done with the book and so he's asleep and I'm like reading it and it's just like speaking to my soul. And I'm like sitting on the plane and they're like bringing around the waters and I just have tears rolling down my face. I'm like, this book is exactly what I needed to read. And I'm like, wow, what a little bitch.
Ew, that's so embarrassing for you.
It really was. I was like, why am I so emo about this era?
It's fine. The other day I started crying at everything. So
Tears are healthy.
it's fine.
Yes. Last thing before we wrap up this episode is we have our retreat this weekend.
I do. I leave on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I leave on Friday night to Detroit because I have to get the global entry pass in Detroit. But
I do leave on Friday night to go to Detroit because I fly out from Detroit on Saturday morning. I already asked Ethan. We're not on the same flight.
yeah, but what are you doing Friday night for dinner in Detroit?
Oh, well, we're staying at the hotel at the airport.
Gotcha. I have no idea where
I have
we're
a toddler. I have to get in bed and have our flight's at like 7 a.m.
Oh.
Also, this does not have to be in the episode, but whatever. We'll talk about it in the episode. I didn't know that there was an hour time change from Vegas to Utah. And so now my time to get the goodie bag stuff is even shorter.
Oh, good.
So if you came to the retreat and then you got the goodie bags on Sunday, like you're supposed to, it's because I scrambled for it. If you get them on Monday, it's because my flight was delayed.
That's so fair. Well, whatever. I can't believe there's an hour difference. I mean,
I didn't know.
guess-
She told me, the lady at auto camp that I work with, she told me the other day. She was like, there's an hour time difference. And I was like, oh, that's great. Thank you so much for telling me that. That's so awesome.
I had an hour to lose, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Ew. Yeah, but I think that that's going to be incredible. And it just makes me, like, now that we're letting this go and we're, like, lightening our plate, it makes me more excited for these next two retreats because there's a deadline. It's the last two. Maybe we'll circle back to these one day and we'll, like, start a mentorship over how to build businesses or something. Like, who knows what KarWell's 8.0 is going to be. But
yeah. I know. I do think the retreats are going to be so fun. And, like, I think I put this in like an email that I'm sending out to everybody, but it's like the brands that we've worked with have like really plugged into the fact that we want it to be like community based and like they're really plugging into like the whole vibe that we're trying to get for retreats and not making it conferencey. And so it's going to be so fun.
It's going to be so fun. There are so many new faces coming as well.
So many.
Yeah. And just being in Zion, like Ethan was like, I'm not even like, he's like, I'm so excited for the retreat. And I'm like, I haven't even had a moment to like think about it. And it's in 4 days. And there's like work that has to be done before then for me to like get excited about it. But just being in Zion, that's what I'm excited for. Is like,
I haven't even registered that I'm actually going to be there just because I'm like thinking of all the things that I have to do before I can actually like sit down. But that's just me.
This is why we're setting things down.
Yeah. It's just who I am as a person, though. No matter what field I'm in, I'm always going to be like that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, why we've gotten to the point that we've gotten to. It's like a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Well, that's it for today. I feel like anything else that we're missing that we need to talk about?
I don't think so. I'm still sweating.
Yeah, me too. I'm still clammy.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners, thank you for always listening to this. Thank you for going through these chapters with us as we continue growing as entrepreneurs, messy entrepreneurs.
Messy.
Messy,
If people claim to not be messy entrepreneurs, they're lying.
literally. And I hope that we encourage you guys to go pursue the things that you want, even if they're hard to have the conversation around with people that you love.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, we'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.